Alright, in today's video we're going to talk about programming mistakes. So essentially mistakes that a lot of people make whenever they are writing down their first training programs or they're making programs for other people. Without further ado, let's dive into the first one, which is going to be always pushing or not managing intensity. This is not necessarily a mistake per se, but it is something that you really can't get away with once you reach an intermediate or an advanced level of strength. The mistake that I made back in the day is simply just keep doing this for way too long, even when things were not working. So I was literally breaking myself against loads that were just way too heavy, looking back on it, and I was just simply trying to force out progress and it simply wasn't working. So at some point in your training career, you really have to educate yourself on training intensity. I have referred to this many times in previous videos as the ebb and flow of training, and I've also made a specific video about intensity a couple of weeks ago, and in that video I essentially give you guys a very simple metaphor to kind of get this point across. Imagine that you have a very long stretch of highway ending up in a pile of mud. You are sitting in a car right in between the highway and the mud, and your goal is to simply get as far into the mud as humanly possible. If you want to get very far, the best thing to do is to reverse your car back as much as possible to gain as much momentum possible, driving forward until you actually reach the mud. Now, the highway stands for very low intensity phases of training where you are guaranteed to finish every single rep as planned, and the mud obviously stands for high intensity phases where you're really trying to push and hit new personal bests. But if you want to know more about training intensity, I would really advise you guys to actually watch that video. I'll link it as always onto this video. And then the second mistake is starting off your training block way too heavy. This is a mistake that a lot of people make, especially once you actually start out writing down your training. Now, just to give you guys an example, what some people will do is they will have a block of sets of 8, and they will start off the first week with their 8 rep max and just trying to add weight to that every single week. Just like the metaphor I gave you guys earlier on in today's video, you want to have some weeks of training where you really gather momentum and really gain speed until you actually get into the phase where you're actually trying to beat personal best and set new personal records. So never start off your blocks of 8 with your 8 rep max. Subtract about 5-10 kilograms from your 8 rep max and give you guys about 2.5 kg increase every single week to have some easy weeks until you actually get to your old personal best, and you should be able to add a couple of weeks to that at the end of your training block. And then the third mistake is neglecting volume work. This is a massive mistake that I made for a very long time in my training, partially because I'm not a huge fan of volume work because I really enjoy doing singles and triples that much more. And back in the day, I actually was thinking I want to get stronger, so the thing I have to do is work in strength specific rep ranges, doing singles, triples and sets of 5. But after a while, you really can't keep progressing just doing your specific strength work. Another metaphor to kind of get the point across. Imagine that you actually have a house which obviously is built on top of a foundation. Now, if you want to build your house as high as possible, you really need a very wide foundation. Otherwise, the whole thing is going to collapse. The foundation here is your volume work, where you really work on work capacity and volume tolerance, and building up the height of your house is your specific strength work, so all the triples, doubles and singles. And so if you want a very tall house long term, you have to always be improving your foundation, because otherwise, once again, the whole thing would simply collapse. So over the last year, I actually started doing volume blocks regularly in my training, and that actually allowed me to make a lot more progress over the last few months. But what I would recommend you guys to do is just start doing this once you actually start out. Always do volume blocks in combination of strength work from day one, therefore you really don't have to get rid of your old habits that I formed back in the day. And then the last mistake I want to talk about in today's video is overthinking and worrying about details. This is something I've been guilty of in the past, and it's also something that I see happening a lot in my comment section. Whenever people are actually writing down programs for themselves, all they want is they want the absolute best training program that is perfect in every single aspect and all the details are worked out perfectly. Now the reality is that there is really no such thing as a perfect program or a perfect exercise, perfect rep range. There really is no such thing. The best program that you actually have is one you have experience with, and for the vast majority of people, it's really about picking a system and making it work for you. So let's say that you pick wave periodization, you really are going to have a couple of training blocks that aren't really going to be that great, but you simply adapt as you go. Like for me, over the last few months actually, I have been running some wave periodization, and I'm still really adapting things as I go along, trying to make it work better for myself. And that is pretty much the way that you do this. You simply pick a system and you go with it, and you simply adapt as you run the program and as you actually, find out what works and what doesn't. And there really is not a point in worrying about things that you aren't doing. So if you're running a wave periodization scheme, stick to that stuff. Don't go for linear and trying to do step loading as well, because doing a lot of things simultaneously really is going to work that great. For me, I want to learn some step loading in the future, but right now the main focus for me is wave periodization, so I'm really going to leave all the step loading for later on. Right now it's really about choosing a system, sticking to that one system and making it work. And that is essentially all of the main mistakes I want to talk about in today's video. If you feel like there are some things that I've actually missed, let me know down below in the comments, and I'll make separate videos about those things if you guys want me to. For now, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already, and share the video. Any more questions or video ideas, let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Latest.